will send message. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Avatar is a science fiction epic film released in 2009, created by the American filmmaker James Cameron, who not only directed it but also wrote, produced, and oversaw its groundbreaking visual effects and technological innovations. The film is set in the mid-22nd century on a distant moon called Pandora, orbiting the gas giant Polyphemus in the Alpha Centauri star system. Pandora is a visually stunning and bioluminescent world, with floating mountains, lush jungles, vast oceans, and a complex ecosystem where every organism is intricately connected through a neural network that reflects the deep spiritual and environmental harmony of the planet. The story explores humanity's greed and exploitation of natural resources, juxtaposed against the spiritual, cultural, and environmental values of Pandora's indigenous people, the Nausicaa, who are tall, blue-skinned humanoids with a profound connection to their world. The film begins by introducing the protagonist, Jake Sully, a former U.S. Marine who has been left paralyzed from the waist down after a combat injury. He is approached by the Resources Development Administration, a powerful corporation seeking to mine the rare mineral unobtainium found on Pandora. Jake is offered a chance to participate in the Avatar program, which allows humans to remotely operate genetically engineered Nausicaa human hybrid bodies called avatars. These avatars are physically capable of surviving Pandora's toxic atmosphere, and the program is designed both for scientific exploration and for gaining the trust of the Nausicaa. Jake's opportunity comes as a replacement for his deceased twin brother, a scientist who had been scheduled to operate an avatar, making Jake the only viable candidate. The offer promises him not only mobility through his avatar body but also the chance to be part of an unprecedented exploration mission. Upon arriving on Pandora, Jake meets the scientists and military personnel stationed there, including Dr. Grace Augustine, the head of the Avatar program, who is deeply committed to understanding and protecting the Nausicaa culture. Colonel Miles Quaritch, the head of security, represents the militaristic and corporate mindset, prioritizing extraction of resources over the well-being of the indigenous population. The initial mission given to Jake by Quaritch is to infiltrate the Nausicaa community and gather information about their land and culture to facilitate their relocation, which the humans consider necessary to access unobtainium deposits beneath their sacred sites. Jake begins his journey reluctantly, torn between duty and curiosity, but he soon experiences a personal transformation that challenges his loyalties. Jake's first encounters with Pandora's environment are both awe-inspiring and dangerous. He experiences flying on banshees, navigating dense forests, and witnessing the breathtaking spectacle of bioluminescent flora at night. His physical abilities, restored in his avatar body, allow him to explore a world that is alien yet deeply beautiful, and he begins to form an emotional attachment to it. When he encounters the Nausicaa people for the first time, he is vulnerable and unprepared, nearly falling prey to Pandora's wildlife. It is in this moment that Neytiri, a skilled Nausicaa huntress and the daughter of the tribe's leaders, intervenes and saves him. Her initial perception of Jake is critical and wary, seeing him as an outsider and intruder, but the guidance of Eywa, the spiritual force that governs life on Pandora, directs her actions. Through Neytiri, Jake begins to understand the complex social and spiritual structures of the Nausicaa, including their reverence for nature and their interconnectedness with all living beings. Over time, Jake is trained by Neytiri in the Nausicaa way of life. He learns to hunt, communicate, ride native creatures such as dire horses and mountain banshees, and connect spiritually with the natural environment. These experiences gradually change him, fostering empathy and respect for the Nausicaa people and their sacred land. Jake's original mission as a spy for the human military begins to conflict with his growing sense of belonging and moral responsibility. As he becomes immersed in Nausicaa culture, he records video logs intended for the human authorities, but these recordings increasingly reflect his admiration for their way of life and his disillusionment with the corporate agenda. His internal struggle intensifies as he witnesses the potential destruction that human greed could bring to Pandora. Jake's relationship with Neytiri evolves into a deep emotional and spiritual bond that transcends romance, representing a bridge between two worlds. Through their connection, Jake gains insight into the Na-6 worldview, their traditions, and the sacred significance of the land and creatures around them. This bond strengthens Jake's resolve to protect Pandora, ultimately positioning him against the human military forces led by Colonel Quaritch. The tension escalates when the corporation decides to forcibly remove the Na-6 from their ancestral home to access the unobtainium deposits. Jake, now fully aligned with the Na-6, becomes a key figure in organizing their defense, using his unique understanding of both human and Na-6 strategies to lead them against a technologically superior adversary. The climactic conflict of the film involves epic battles in the floating mountains, dense forests, and across the vast landscapes of Pandora. Advanced human machinery, including armored vehicles and powerful weapons, confront the Na-6, who rely on their intimate knowledge of the terrain, spiritual unity, and connection with Pandora's creatures to resist. The narrative emphasizes themes of environmental stewardship, the dangers of corporate exploitation, and the profound consequences of disrupting an interconnected ecosystem. In the end, the Na-6, with Jake's leadership and strategic insight, succeed in driving the humans off the planet, reclaiming their sacred lands and restoring balance to their world. The cast of Avatar features Sam Worthington as Jake Sully, Zoe Saldana as Neytiri, Sigourney Weaver as Dr. Grace Augustine, Stephen Lang as Colonel Miles Quaritch, Giovanni Ribisi as Parker Selfridge, Michelle Rodriguez as Trudy Chacon, and CCH Pounder as Imoat, among others. Each actor contributes to bringing the characters to life, blending live-action performance with motion capture technology to create realistic interactions between human actors and digital characters. The motion capture process, led by pioneering visual effects teams, allows for expressive facial movements and nuanced performances, pushing the boundaries of cinematic technology. Avatar was released on December 18, 2009, in the United States and quickly became a global phenomenon, breaking box office records and earning critical acclaim for its innovation in visual effects, immersive 3D presentation, and epic storytelling. The film's success also sparked discussions about environmentalism, indigenous rights, and corporate ethics, resonating with audiences worldwide. Its groundbreaking use of 3D technology, combined with an expansive fictional world and compelling narrative, set a new standard for visual storytelling in cinema. Trailers released prior to the premiere showcased the extraordinary visuals, highlighting Pandora's floating mountains, glowing forests, and majestic creatures, generating enormous anticipation and excitement among moviegoers. The film's legacy includes multiple planned sequels, continuing to explore the world of Pandora, its cultures, and the ongoing conflict between humans and Na-6. James Cameron's dedication to blending scientific plausibility with fantastical elements, along with his meticulous attention to environmental and cultural detail, has ensured that Avatar remains a landmark achievement in film history. The movie's combination of adventure, romance, moral complexity, and visual spectacle continues to inspire filmmakers, audiences, and environmental advocates alike, solidifying its place as one of the most influential films of the 21st century. Its narrative is not only a story of interstellar exploration and conflict but also a cautionary tale about the consequences of greed, the importance of empathy, and the enduring power of connection between all living beings. The artistry, storytelling, and technological innovation converge in Avatar to create a cinematic experience that is immersive, emotionally resonant, and visually unforgettable. Pandora is more than just a backdrop, it is a living, breathing entity, intricately designed with layers of flora and fauna that interact in ways both beautiful and dangerous. The forests are dense with towering trees, some reaching heights comparable to skyscrapers, and their roots and vines intertwine to create natural pathways and hiding places for both predator and prey. Bioluminescent plants illuminate the night, creating a surreal glow that reflects the interconnectedness of life on the moon. Every creature on Pandora, from the smallest insect to the massive great Leonopteryx, plays a role in the delicate ecological balance. The Na-6, the indigenous population, have evolved alongside this ecosystem for generations, and their culture is deeply intertwined with the spiritual force known as Eywa. Eywa is considered the guiding consciousness of Pandora, connecting all living beings and ensuring the planet maintains balance. The Na-6 demonstrate a profound respect for Eywa, engaging in rituals, ceremonies, and daily practices that honor their connection to the land and creatures around them. Jake Sully's initial exposure to Pandora is both thrilling and terrifying. In his avatar body, he experiences a freedom he has never felt since becoming paralyzed. Running, climbing, and leaping through the dense forest fills him with exhilaration, but the dangers of the alien world are constant reminders that survival requires respect and understanding of Pandora's ecosystem. When Jake encounters Neytiri, the daughter of the clan's leaders, he is initially perceived as weak and unworthy. Neytiri's instruction and guidance are crucial to his transformation. She teaches him how to read the signs of the forest, interpret the behavior of animals, and respect the interconnectedness of all life forms. Through these lessons, Jake begins to internalize the Na-6 worldview, which contrasts sharply with the exploitative and militaristic mindset of the human invaders. His experiences with the Na-6 community gradually shift him from being an observer and spy to a participant, deeply invested in the survival and well-being of the people he has come to respect and love. The military and corporate presence on Pandora introduces tension and conflict from the very beginning. Colonel Miles Quaritch embodies the ruthless, pragmatic approach of humans who prioritize resource extraction above all else. Parker Selfridge, the corporate administrator, represents bureaucracy and profit motives, often disconnected from the ethical implications of their actions. The human operations include heavily armed vehicles, flying gunships, and advanced weaponry designed to overpower Pandora's natural defenses. The stark contrast between the technological dominance of humans and the spiritual and ecological strength of the Na-6 underscores one of the film's central themes, the consequences of disrupting a balanced and interconnected world for short-term gain. As Jake becomes more immersed in Na-6 life, he begins to recognize the moral cost of his initial allegiance to the humans. His internal struggle grows, as he is forced to reconcile his loyalty to the humans with his newfound identity and responsibilities among the Na-6. As Jake's relationship with Neytiri deepens, he experiences the cultural richness of the Na-6 firsthand. He participates in hunting expeditions, rides flying creatures called mountain banshees, and engages in spiritual practices that connect him directly to Eywa. These experiences are transformative, not only physically but emotionally and spiritually. Through this immersion, Jake gains an understanding of the Na-6 values, the importance of community, reverence for nature, and the necessity of maintaining balance in all aspects of life. He becomes a mediator between two worlds, understanding the strategic and technological perspectives of humans while fully appreciating the spiritual and cultural wisdom of the Na-6. The plot intensifies as the human corporation, frustrated by Jake's perceived inaction, escalates its operations. Plans to forcibly relocate the Na-6 escalate into open conflict, with devastating consequences for the environment and for the Na-6 people. The humans underestimate the unity, resilience, and resourcefulness of the Na-6, who use their intimate knowledge of Pandora's terrain, wildlife, and natural systems to counter human aggression. Jake emerges as a pivotal figure, leveraging his unique understanding of both cultures to coordinate defense strategies that maximize the Na-6 strengths while minimizing human technological advantages. The resulting confrontations showcase large-scale aerial and ground battles, with intricate choreography highlighting the synergy between the Na-6 and their environment. Flying creatures engage in breathtaking maneuvers around floating mountains, and the forests themselves become allies in defending the indigenous people. These sequences combine thrilling action with a vivid illustration of the central theme: nature itself, when respected and understood, is a formidable force. The emotional stakes continue to rise as Jake's dual identity becomes increasingly complex. He must navigate his human past and military training alongside his growing Na-6 loyalty and identity. His leadership within the Na-6 community becomes more pronounced, culminating in a decisive confrontation with Quaritch and the human forces. The narrative emphasizes not only physical courage but also the importance of moral and ethical decision-making in leadership. Jake's evolution from an outsider and reluctant participant to a fully embraced member of the Na-6 tribe symbolizes the possibility of transformation and redemption. His bond with Neytiri solidifies, becoming both a personal anchor and a metaphorical bridge between two worlds that must find balance to survive. Meanwhile, Dr. Grace Augustine, who has spent her career advocating for peaceful coexistence and scientific understanding, faces her own challenges. Her commitment to ethical research and respect for the Gnostics contrasts with the corporate and military imperatives, and she becomes a mentor figure for Jake, guiding him toward making choices aligned with conscience and empathy. Her research into Pandora's biology, particularly its neural connections and symbiotic relationships, highlights the film's detailed world-building and Cameron's commitment to creating a scientifically plausible, yet fantastical ecosystem. Her interactions with the Gnostics further illustrate the possibility of mutual understanding and respect across species, emphasizing the narrative's overarching themes of interconnectedness and ethical responsibility. The climax of Avatar is both spectacular and thematically resonant. The Gnostics, united under Jake's leadership, launch a coordinated resistance against the human forces, using guerrilla tactics, intimate knowledge of the environment, and alliances with Pandora's wildlife. The visual spectacle is matched by emotional intensity as characters confront personal and collective stakes. The battle sequences demonstrate not only action-packed excitement but also the consequences of hubris, greed, and disrespect for natural systems. In the end, the humans are driven from Pandora, with their primary antagonist, Colonel Quaritch, defeated in a confrontation that underscores the triumph of ethical courage and environmental stewardship over ruthless exploitation. Pandora's ecosystem, while scarred by conflict, survives, and the Gnostics reaffirm their spiritual and cultural connection to their world. The film's cast brings depth and emotional resonance to these complex characters. Sam Worthington embodies Jake Sully, portraying the transformation from vulnerable outsider to courageous leader. Zoe Saldana as Neytiri captures the strength, grace, and spiritual depth of the Gnostics, while Sigourney Weaver as Dr. Grace Augustine lends authority, wisdom, and moral grounding. Stephen Lang as Colonel Miles Quaritch presents a compelling human antagonist, embodying determination, militarism, and moral rigidity. Giovanni Ribisi as Parker Selfridge and Michelle Rodriguez as Trudy Chacon add additional layers of corporate and human perspectives, enriching the narrative with nuanced portrayals of both ambition and ethical conflict. Motion capture technology allows these performances to be seamlessly integrated into the digital environment, creating a vivid and immersive experience for the audience. Upon its release on December 18, 2009, Avatar quickly became a cultural phenomenon, praised for its visual achievements, 3D technology, and immersive storytelling. It achieved unprecedented box office success, becoming the highest-grossing film at the time, and its influence on cinematic techniques, environmental discourse, and popular culture continues to be felt. The film's trailers and promotional material emphasized Pandora's extraordinary landscapes, glowing forests, and dynamic creatures, generating excitement and anticipation worldwide. Beyond its entertainment value, Avatar sparked conversations about ecological preservation, corporate ethics, and the importance of cultural respect, resonating deeply with audiences of all ages and backgrounds. As Jake Sully becomes further integrated into Gnostic society, he experiences not just physical freedom but profound emotional and spiritual growth. He begins to understand the Gnostics' philosophy that every being is connected through Eywa, the planetary consciousness that binds life together. This connection is literal as well as spiritual. Plants, animals, and even the land itself share neural networks that the Gnostics can access, whether to communicate, seek guidance, or participate in rituals that honor the balance of life. Jake learns that when a Gnostic touches a creature or a tree using their cue, the neural tendril that extends from the back of their head, they establish a connection that allows them to interact on a biological level, sharing signals and sensory input. Through this intimate link, Jake experiences the awe-inspiring complexity of Pandora's ecosystem and develops a profound respect for its interdependence, which begins to challenge his human-centric worldview. The relationship between Jake and Neytiri grows deeper over time, not only as a romantic connection but also as a mentorship and partnership. Neytiri teaches him the sacred traditions of the Omaticaya clan, including their ceremonial dances, storytelling, and hunting practices. The Gnostics' respect for the spiritual and environmental world is vividly demonstrated in their rites of passage, which often involve bonding with creatures such as the dire horse and the ikran, or mountain banshee. Jake's first attempt at bonding with a banshee is symbolic of his full acceptance into Gnostics culture, requiring courage, trust, and a demonstration of humility. This act also parallels the broader narrative of humans learning from Pandora, showing that understanding and respect must precede mastery or influence. While Jake is becoming one with the Gnostics, the human presence continues to expand its reach. Parker Selfridge and his corporate team focus relentlessly on extracting unobtainium, often disregarding environmental damage or Gnostics cultural practices. The film portrays the human technology in striking contrast to the Gnostics' harmony with nature, towering machines carve through forests, hovering gunships patrol the skies, and advanced surveillance drones monitor the movements of the indigenous population. Colonel Quaritch embodies the militaristic mindset, often viewing Pandora as a strategic obstacle rather than a world worth respecting. His interactions with Jake represent a clash not just of personalities but of worldviews, one focused on exploitation and dominance, the other on empathy and symbiosis. The plot reaches its midpoint when Jake, torn between his orders and his growing attachment to the Gnostics, decides to betray the humans' plans. This turning point is marked by emotional tension, as he grapples with loyalty, honor, and the potential consequences of his actions. Jake's video logs to the human authorities, initially intended to report on the Gnostics, evolve into reflections on morality, the ethics of intervention, and the spiritual richness of Pandora. His transformation is both personal and symbolic, a human learning humility and interconnectedness from an alien culture, demonstrating the possibility of cross-cultural understanding and the power of moral courage. Conflict escalates when the humans, frustrated with the slow progress of relocation negotiations, begin to escalate their offensive operations. Explosions and deforestation threaten the Gnostics' sacred home tree, which is central to their culture, community, and spiritual practices. The destruction of the home tree is a pivotal moment in the film, representing the devastating impact of industrial greed and the urgency for the Gnostics to defend their land. Jake fully commits to the Gnostics' cause, helping organize defenses, strategizing attacks against human vehicles, and coordinating with clan members to utilize both their physical skills and deep knowledge of the terrain. This sequence highlights the stark contrast between human technology and Gnostics' ingenuity, with the Gnostics leveraging natural camouflage, aerial mobility, and cooperative tactics to offset the humans' mechanical superiority. Secondary characters play important roles in this escalation. Trudy Chacon, a human pilot sympathetic to the Gnostics, chooses to defect from her military allegiance and assist them, highlighting themes of personal morality and ethical choice. Dar. Grace Augustine's scientific expertise and deep understanding of the Gnostics culture are instrumental in guiding strategic and cultural decisions. Moat, Neytiri's mother and spiritual leader of the Omadikeya clan, provides wisdom and guidance, emphasizing the importance of spiritual alignment, patience, and adherence to cultural values in the face of existential threats. Each character contributes to the narrative in ways that expand the viewer's understanding of the moral, ethical, and spiritual stakes in the conflict between humans and Gnostics. As the human forces launch their major assault on the Gnostics, the narrative reaches its most visually and emotionally intense sequences. The Gnostics ride their ikrans through the floating Hallelujah Mountains, coordinating aerial attacks with remarkable precision. Ground engagements feature guerrilla tactics that exploit their intimate knowledge of the environment, allowing them to disable advanced human machinery. The battle sequences blend breathtaking CGI with grounded character-driven action, ensuring that the stakes feel both epic and personal. Throughout the conflict, Jake's dual perspective allows him to anticipate human strategies, while his deep connection to Pandora empowers him to act in alignment with Eywa's guidance. In the aftermath of the battle, the Gnostics are victorious, but the cost is significant. The home tree has been destroyed, and the Gnostics must rebuild, both physically and spiritually. Jake's transformation is completed when he permanently transfers his consciousness into his avatar body through a sacred ritual that allows his human body to be abandoned. This act signifies his full integration into Gnostics culture and his choice to embrace a life aligned with the values, spirituality, and harmony of Pandora. Neytiri and the clan celebrate their renewed connection to Eywa, emphasizing themes of resilience, cultural preservation, and ecological stewardship. The success of Avatar extends beyond its narrative to its technical achievements. The film's use of performance capture allowed actors to convey nuanced emotions that were faithfully rendered in their digital Na6 counterparts. Motion capture suits, facial tracking systems, and CGI backgrounds combined to create a world that was immersive, photorealistic, and visually groundbreaking. Pandora's design drew on diverse biological inspirations, integrating elements of known flora and fauna with imaginative alien features, resulting in creatures that were both believable and fantastical. Cameron's insistence on technological innovation pushed the boundaries of what cinema could achieve, influencing countless films that followed in terms of visual effects, 3D technology, and virtual production methods. Upon release, Avatar became a cultural milestone, generating unprecedented excitement for 3D cinema and visual storytelling. Audiences worldwide were captivated by the environmental and spiritual themes, the romance between Jake and Neytiri, and the spectacle of Pandora's landscapes and creatures. The film sparked discussions about environmental responsibility, indigenous rights, and the consequences of technological arrogance, highlighting its relevance beyond entertainment. Avatar's legacy includes multiple planned sequels exploring Pandora's oceans, mountains, and other clans, promising further expansion of the rich narrative, ecological detail, and character development introduced in the first film. Pandora is depicted not only as a visually stunning world but as a meticulously constructed ecosystem with layers of interdependent life forms. Its floating mountains, known as the Hallelujah Mountains, hover in the sky due to unobtainium's unique magnetic properties, creating a surreal and dangerous terrain. These mountains provide both refuge and challenge for the Na6, who ride their ikrans to traverse the cliffs and peaks with agility and skill. Beneath the mountains, dense forests and rivers teem with life, from small, bioluminescent insects to massive predator species. Every organism interacts within a network of symbiosis and predation, reflecting Cameron's dedication to creating a scientifically plausible ecosystem. The Na6's understanding of this interconnectedness informs their survival strategies and spiritual practices. They demonstrate that living in harmony with the environment requires respect, observation, and engagement with all elements of the natural world. The spiritual dimension of Pandora is central to the narrative. Eywa, the deity-like consciousness, represents the planetary neural network, connecting all living beings in a way that is both metaphysical and biological. The Na6 commune with Eywa through rituals, song, and direct neural connections. Sacred sites, such as the Tree of Souls and the Tree of Voices, serve as focal points for these connections, allowing the Na6 to access ancestral knowledge and guidance. These spiritual practices reinforce the themes of interconnectedness, environmental stewardship, and the consequences of disrupting the natural balance. For Jake, exposure to these practices is transformative. He comes to understand that leadership, courage, and ethical action require more than physical strength. They require alignment with the spiritual and ecological principles of Pandora. Jake's immersion in Na6 culture continues to challenge his human assumptions. The Na6's methods of hunting, gathering, and communication are deeply integrated with the rhythms of nature. Hunting is not simply for sustenance, it is a ritualized activity that respects the life taken and ensures sustainability. Each kill is accompanied by thanks to Eywa, reflecting a philosophy of reciprocal respect. Riding creatures such as the dire horse or the ikran requires not only physical skill but a mental and emotional bond with the animal. Jake's gradual mastery of these practices symbolizes his growing integration into Na6 life and his departure from the utilitarian and exploitative mindset of the humans. His development is mirrored in his relationships, particularly with Neytiri, who becomes his teacher, partner, and moral compass. Human intrusion escalates as corporate interests clash with Pandora's spiritual and ecological integrity. Parker Selfridge, while primarily motivated by profit, demonstrates occasional moments of pragmatism and concern, highlighting the spectrum of human motivations. Colonel Quaritch embodies the relentless militaristic approach, deploying mechanized walkers, heavily armed gunships, and automated defense systems to achieve objectives. The technological contrast between humans and Na-6 underscores a central theme of the narrative: the consequences of exploiting advanced technology without ethical or ecological consideration. Scenes depicting forest destruction, industrial machinery, and environmental damage provide stark visual and narrative contrasts to Pandora's beauty, reinforcing the stakes and the moral imperative to defend the world. As the narrative progresses, Jake's conflict between human orders and Na-6 loyalty intensifies. His dual identity allows him to anticipate military strategies, yet he must reconcile his actions with the ethical and spiritual codes of the Na-6. This internal struggle culminates when the home tree, a massive and spiritually central tree for the Omadikeya clan, is destroyed by human firepower. The attack forces the Na-6 to confront the reality of human aggression and galvanizes Jake into decisive action. The battle that follows is both tactical and symbolic. Na-6 warriors coordinate attacks using their intimate knowledge of the terrain, while creatures of Pandora, connected through Eywa, assist in resisting the technologically superior humans. Aerial sequences featuring equine maneuvers around floating mountains are choreographed with breathtaking precision, demonstrating the fusion of natural agility and strategic intelligence. Secondary characters enrich the story and provide additional moral and ethical perspectives. Trudy Chacon, a human pilot sympathetic to the Na-6, defects from her military duties to aid in their resistance, embodying the possibility of personal ethical choice transcending institutional loyalty. Dr. Grace Augustine's scientific expertise and cultural empathy guide strategic and ethical decision-making, highlighting the importance of knowledge and respect in cross-cultural interactions. Moat, Neytiri's mother and spiritual leader, emphasizes spiritual alignment and adherence to cultural values, reinforcing the narrative's themes of balance, patience, and moral courage. Each character contributes to the unfolding story by highlighting the consequences of choices, the complexity of ethical dilemmas, and the possibilities for redemption and transformation. The climax of the film is a multi-layered spectacle that combines intense action, emotional stakes, and thematic resonance. Na-6 warriors, led by Jake, launch a coordinated assault against human forces, utilizing guerrilla tactics, aerial maneuvers, and environmental strategy. Despite the humans' advanced technology, the Na-6's intimate knowledge of Pandora, their unity, and their spiritual connection to Eywa enable them to prevail. The battle scenes emphasize the synergy between skill, courage, and ecological understanding, demonstrating that strength is not merely technological but also ethical and spiritual. The victory is hard-won and symbolic, representing not only the defense of Pandora but also the triumph of ethical courage, respect for nature, and cultural integrity over greed and exploitation. Following the victory, Jake undergoes a permanent transfer of consciousness into his avatar body through a sacred ritual at the Tree of Souls. This act signifies the completion of his transformation and full acceptance into the Na-6 community. He abandons his human body, choosing a life aligned with the values, spirituality, and harmony of Pandora. Neytiri and the Omadikeya clan celebrate, reinforcing themes of resilience, cultural continuity, and ecological stewardship. The conclusion of the narrative emphasizes hope, balance, and the possibility of coexistence between technology and nature when guided by respect and ethical awareness. The film's visual achievements are central to its impact. The integration of live-action performances with motion capture technology created realistic, emotionally expressive digital characters. Cameron's attention to detail in designing Pandora's flora, fauna, and landscapes resulted in a fully immersive world, blending scientific plausibility with fantastical imagination. The use of stereoscopic 3D technology enhanced the sense of depth and realism, setting a new benchmark for cinematic experiences. Pandora's creatures, such as the hammerhead titanothere, viper wolf, and the great Leonopteryx, were conceived with biological logic and behavioral realism, giving audiences a sense of a living, interconnected world. Upon its release on December 18, 2009, Avatar achieved critical and commercial success, resonating with audiences worldwide. Its themes of environmentalism, corporate ethics, and spiritual interconnectedness struck a chord, while its technological innovations influenced subsequent films in visual effects, 3D presentation, and performance capture. The film's trailers, emphasizing the grandeur of Pandora and the scope of human-Na-6 conflict, generated immense anticipation. Avatar remains a landmark in cinematic history, combining thrilling adventure, emotional depth, and ethical reflection, and it paved the way for sequels exploring new regions, clans, and ecological systems of Pandora. Its legacy endures as both a storytelling achievement and a testament to the power of imagination, technology, and human empathy when applied to cinematic creation. The ecosystem of Pandora is incredibly complex, with every organism playing a role in maintaining balance. From the smallest bioluminescent insects to apex predators, the relationships among species are tightly woven. The floating Hallelujah Mountains are held aloft by unobtainium, whose magnetic properties allow for a rare gravitational anomaly, creating a breathtaking landscape filled with cliffs, waterfalls, and natural bridges. The Na-6 traverse these mountains with agility and grace, riding ikrans in elaborate aerial patterns that also serve as displays of skill, communication, and courtship. Beneath these mountains, dense jungles teem with life, featuring trees with expansive canopies, roots that form natural bridges, and flora that glows at night in a symphony of color. Rivers teem with amphibious creatures, and Pandora's seas are home to leviathan-like creatures whose bioluminescence illuminates the waters. Every element of Pandora's ecosystem contributes to a web of life, demonstrating Cameron's dedication to creating a living, breathing world. The Na-6 themselves are deeply connected to this ecosystem through Eywa, the spiritual and neural network that binds the moon together. Their culture emphasizes respect for life, communal decision-making, and spiritual rituals that honor both ancestors and the planet itself. Sacred sites such as the Tree of Souls serve as conduits for communication with past generations, providing wisdom and guidance. The Na-6 connect with these trees and creatures via their neural tendrils, establishing physical and spiritual bonds that allow shared consciousness or understanding. Daily life is intertwined with these spiritual practices, and actions such as hunting or gathering are conducted with ceremonial respect. This philosophy stands in sharp contrast to human practices on Pandora, which prioritize extraction and exploitation over harmony and sustainability. Jake Sully's immersion into this culture challenges him to rethink concepts of leadership, morality, and identity. Jake's first experiences in the Na-6 world are formative. When he attempts to bond with his banshee, the Ikran, he faces fear, resistance, and the need to establish mutual trust. This sequence is emblematic of his journey from outsider to fully integrated member of the clan. Learning to ride the Ikran requires not just physical skill but emotional attunement. He must remain calm, assertive yet gentle, and in harmony with the creature's instincts. Success in this endeavor earns him the respect of the clan and strengthens his connection to Neytiri, who has guided him through the cultural and spiritual dimensions of Na-6 life. Their partnership is both romantic and symbolic, representing the potential for understanding, unity, and transformation between two very different worlds. Human presence on Pandora, by contrast, is characterized by industrial might, military precision, and a disregard for ecological consequences. Parker Selfridge's administration of the mining operation is marked by bureaucratic efficiency, profit-driven decisions, and occasional frustration with operational setbacks. Colonel Quaritch embodies the militaristic and strategic mindset, deploying advanced weaponry, armored vehicles, and air support to achieve objectives. The stark visual and thematic contrast between human technology and Na-6 harmony underscores one of the film's core messages: the destructive potential of technology wielded without ethical or ecological consideration. The human's ability to manipulate and destroy landscapes and wildlife starkly opposes the Na-6 philosophy of coexistence and mutual respect, heightening narrative tension and ethical stakes. The central conflict intensifies when Jake, initially assigned to spy on the Na-6, begins to empathize with their way of life. His dual identity as both a human operative and an accepted Na-6 member forces him into ethical dilemmas. He begins to sabotage military operations subtly, redirecting resources, and reporting false information to protect the Omaticaya clan. This moral evolution is reinforced by his close interactions with Neytiri and the guidance of Dr. Grace Augustine, whose mentorship emphasizes the importance of respect, observation, and responsible action. The tension reaches its peak when the home tree, a massive and sacred Gnostic structure central to their spiritual and communal life, is attacked by humans. This act of destruction serves as a catalyst, transforming Jake's moral hesitations into decisive action to lead the Gnostics' resistance. The Gnostics' resistance is characterized by coordination, strategy, and deep integration with Pandora's ecosystem. Utilizing guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and aerial attacks on human forces, they counterbalance technological disadvantages with ingenuity and intimate environmental knowledge. The aerial sequences involving Ikran flights around floating mountains are choreographed with both artistic beauty and narrative tension, highlighting the Gnostics' synergy with their world. Ground engagements leverage the dense jungle, roots, and natural obstacles to neutralize human machinery, demonstrating that knowledge, respect for the environment, and unity can overcome raw technological power. These sequences are both visually spectacular and thematically resonant, emphasizing the narrative's ecological and ethical lessons. Secondary characters enrich the narrative's complexity. Trudy Chacon, a human pilot, chooses to side with the Gnostics, illustrating the power of individual conscience over institutional loyalty. Her actions underscore a recurring theme: moral choice is not dictated by identity alone but by ethical reflection. Dar. Grace Augustine's dedication to science, culture, and ethical responsibility provides both strategic and moral guidance, demonstrating the importance of empathy and understanding in leadership. Moat, Neytiri's mother and spiritual leader, reinforces the importance of cultural values, patience, and alignment with spiritual principles, reminding the Gnostics of their long-term connection to Eywa and the necessity of balance between action and respect for natural law. The climax is both a narrative and visual crescendo. The Gnostics, guided by Jake, mount a coordinated defense against the human forces, blending aerial maneuvers, ground tactics, and environmental knowledge to confront heavily armed adversaries. Despite the humans' technological advantages, the Gnostics' unity, environmental integration, and spiritual alignment with Eywa allow them to overcome the threat. The battle sequences are visually arresting, combining CGI, motion capture performance, and intricate choreography to convey both the intensity and the beauty of Pandora's ecosystems. The victory is not only physical but moral and ethical, demonstrating that courage, unity, and respect for life can overcome greed, hubris, and exploitation. After the battle, Jake completes his transformation by permanently transferring his consciousness into his avatar body through a sacred ritual at the Tree of Souls. This act signifies full integration into the Gnostics community and his choice to embrace the values, spirituality, and lifestyle of Pandora. Neytiri and the Omaticea celebrate their renewed connection to Eywa, emphasizing resilience, cultural preservation, and ecological stewardship. The narrative concludes with a sense of hope and continuity, highlighting themes of redemption, moral responsibility, and the enduring importance of living in harmony with the natural world. Avatar's groundbreaking achievements extend beyond narrative into technology and cinematic artistry. The integration of live-action performance with advanced motion capture allowed actors' nuanced emotions to be faithfully rendered in their digital Gnostics counterparts. Pandora's design drew on earthly flora and fauna but adapted and transformed them into believable alien species, creating a world that was both fantastical and scientifically plausible. The film's 3D stereoscopic technology enhanced the sense of immersion, allowing audiences to experience the scale, depth, and vibrancy of Pandora in unprecedented ways. Creatures like the great Leonopteryx, viper wolves, and hammerhead titanothere were conceptualized with attention to behavior, anatomy, and ecological plausibility, making them feel real within the fictional world. Upon its release on December 18, 2009, Avatar became a global phenomenon, achieving critical acclaim and massive commercial success. Audiences were captivated by its environmental, ethical, and spiritual themes, as well as the romantic and heroic arcs of its central characters. The film influenced subsequent developments in visual effects, 3D cinema, and world-building in storytelling, leaving a lasting impact on popular culture and filmmaking. Discussions about the ethical treatment of ecosystems, corporate responsibility, and the importance of cultural respect were amplified by the narrative, making Avatar not just entertainment but a cultural touchstone with moral and ecological relevance. Pandora's environment is meticulously layered, with each region of the moon hosting unique flora, fauna, and ecological systems. The Hallelujah Mountains, suspended above the ground by unobtainium's magnetic forces, present both beauty and danger. Na-6 clans navigate these peaks with ikrans, flying creatures adapted for aerial maneuverability and bondable with Na-6 through neural cues. The forests below are dense with massive trees whose roots form natural bridges, caves, and protective hideaways. Streams and waterfalls cut through the terrain, sustaining amphibious creatures and providing water for plants and animals alike. Bioluminescent flora emit a soft, radiant glow at night, illuminating predators and prey, while pollinating insects create light patterns that ripple through the vegetation. Each species interacts symbiotically, reinforcing the notion that Pandora's survival depends on balance, and any disruption, such as human industrial activity, threatens the integrity of this intricate system. The Omaticea clan, into which Jake is gradually assimilated, has rich traditions and social structures that emphasize communal living, shared responsibility, and spiritual connection. Moat, the clan matriarch, oversees the spiritual and social well-being of her people, guiding rituals and ensuring alignment with Eywa. She teaches that leadership requires wisdom, empathy, and courage, not merely physical strength. Neytiri, as both a warrior and teacher, embodies these values, mentoring Jake in Na-6 combat techniques, spiritual awareness, and ecological literacy. Her guidance is not limited to physical skill. She instructs Jake on interpreting signs in the forest, listening to animal behaviors, and recognizing when to act or observe. These lessons deepen his integration into Na-6 society and shape his understanding of morality, leadership, and community. Jake's initial assignments for the human military involve surveillance and intelligence gathering on the Na-6. His early reports focus on cultural observations and strategic information intended for relocation planning. However, as his immersion deepens, his reports evolve into reflections on the Na-6 way of life, the spiritual power of Eywa, and the moral implications of human intervention. This duality drives the narrative tension, illustrating his struggle between allegiance to his human superiors and growing loyalty to the Na-6. The destruction of the home tree by human forces represents a turning point, catalyzing Jake's decision to fully commit to defending Pandora. The home tree's fall symbolizes both the fragility and resilience of culture and nature, and its loss galvanizes the Na-6 community to act collectively in defense of their home. The aerial combat sequences are central to the narrative, showcasing both Na-6 skill and Pandora's ecological majesty. Riding ikrans, the Na-6 launch coordinated attacks against human gunships, using the terrain and weather to their advantage. Jake's strategic understanding of human technology allows him to anticipate attacks, redirect efforts, and minimize casualties. On the ground, guerrilla tactics involve the use of camouflaged positions, route traps, and natural obstacles to hinder human armored vehicles. These battle scenes are not only visually stunning but underscore thematic elements, the superiority of ecological intelligence and community cooperation over brute technological force. Minor characters play key roles in shaping the narrative's ethical and emotional dimensions. Trudy Chacon, a human pilot sympathetic to Pandora's plight, embodies moral choice, challenging institutional authority to act in alignment with conscience. Her aerial expertise supports the Na-6 during combat and symbolizes the potential for humans to act as allies rather than exploiters. Dr. Grace Augustine continues to provide scientific, ethical, and cultural guidance, emphasizing observation, empathy, and knowledge as tools of survival and understanding. Her mentorship enables Jake to navigate his dual identity, blending tactical acumen with spiritual awareness. Other clan members contribute unique skills and knowledge, from skilled hunters to spiritual practitioners, reinforcing the narrative's emphasis on community and interconnectedness. The Na-6 engage in rituals and ceremonies that reflect their reverence for Eywa. Bonding with creatures, connecting to the Tree of Souls, and participating in seasonal rites are integral aspects of their culture. These practices are depicted in intricate detail, neural cues linking Na-6 and animals, song and chant invoking ancestral wisdom, and synchronized movements reflecting harmony with natural rhythms. Through these scenes, viewers gain insight into the depth and richness of Nasik's life, emphasizing themes of respect, continuity, and spiritual connection. Jake's participation in these rituals demonstrates his full cultural assimilation, symbolizing the triumph of empathy, learning, and moral alignment over exploitation. Pandora's creatures are depicted with biological plausibility and imaginative design. Predators like viper wolves demonstrate pack coordination and adaptive hunting behaviors. Herbivores such as the dire horse provide transportation and companionship to the Nasiks. Apex aerial predators like the great Leonopteryx display territorial behavior and bond with dominant riders, including Jake, symbolizing trust and courage. Even smaller organisms, such as pollinating insects and luminescent plants, are integrated into narrative sequences, reinforcing the interconnectedness of all life and highlighting the ecological stakes of the human presence. The film's resolution is emotionally and thematically satisfying. After defeating the human forces, Jake undergoes a permanent consciousness transfer into his avatar body at the Tree of Souls, fully committing to life among the Nasiks. Neytiri and the Omaticaya celebrate this transformation, reflecting the culmination of spiritual, moral, and cultural arcs. Pandora, scarred yet resilient, stands as a testament to the power of balance, ethical leadership, and ecological stewardship. Human antagonists are repelled, illustrating the consequences of greed and disrespect for life. The final sequences highlight hope, continuity, and the enduring importance of living in harmony with nature. Avatar's groundbreaking visual effects, motion capture performances, and 3D technology combine to create an unprecedented cinematic experience. Every scene, from intimate interactions among Nasiks to large-scale battles, demonstrates technical precision and narrative purpose. The integration of actors' emotional expressions into digital avatars allows for deep audience connection, while the richly detailed environments reinforce both immersion and storytelling. Cameron's creation of Pandora as a fully realized world serves not only as spectacle but as a narrative tool, making the setting a character in itself, integral to plot, theme, and emotional resonance. Upon release on December 18, 2009, Avatar achieved historic commercial success and critical acclaim. Its exploration of environmentalism, spirituality, ethics, and cultural respect resonated worldwide, while the romance, heroism, and adventure engaged audiences emotionally. The film's influence on visual effects, motion capture technology, and immersive storytelling continues to shape the film industry. The anticipation of sequels promises further exploration of Pandora's oceans, mountains, and unexplored regions, as well as deeper examination of Nasik's culture and human interaction. Avatar's legacy lies in its synthesis of technology, narrative, ethical reflection, and immersive world-building, offering both entertainment and a powerful commentary on humanity's relationship with nature and one another. Jake Sully's initial days on Pandora are marked by a mix of fascination and apprehension. In his avatar body, he experiences the joy of movement for the first time since his paralysis. Running through dense forests, leaping over streams, and climbing enormous trees fills him with an exhilaration that contrasts sharply with his previous physical limitations. This physical freedom is also symbolic. It represents the opening of his consciousness to new ways of thinking, feeling, and interacting with the world. Early on, Jake is cautious, observing the Nasiks from a distance while trying to understand their customs, communication methods, and relationship with the environment. His curiosity and humility allow him to gradually earn the trust of Neytiri and other clan members, although his mistakes and naivety initially create tension and skepticism. The Omaticaya clan's community life is rich and highly structured. Social roles, spiritual responsibilities, and practical tasks are distributed based on skill, experience, and affinity with Eywa. Hunters and warriors maintain security and food sources, while spiritual leaders such as Moat guide cultural continuity and rituals. Jake participates in daily activities that emphasize cooperation, observation, and learning. His first hunting expedition with Neytiri involves careful tracking of prey, silent movement through the forest, and observation of ecological cues, demonstrating how the Nasiks rely on both intuition and empirical understanding of their environment. Dialogue during these scenes emphasizes humility and attentiveness. Neytiri instructs Jake on how to listen to the forest and read the signs of the land, instilling a philosophy of harmony rather than domination. As Jake becomes more adept at Nasik's practices, he begins to bond with wildlife, forming neural connections through his cue with dire horses, banshees, and even smaller creatures. These bonds are both practical and spiritual. They allow him to ride, communicate, and collaborate with animals, while also reinforcing his connection to Eywa. One pivotal moment is his first successful flight on an Ikran. The scene is tense and immersive, as Jake must demonstrate courage, focus, and mutual trust. The bond with the Ikran is established through direct neural connection, a sequence depicted with close attention to emotion, body language, and environmental interaction. Success in this challenge marks a turning point in Jake's integration into Nasik society and earns him the clan's respect. The human perspective on Pandora is marked by technological dominance and ethical disconnection. Parker Selfridge oversees mining operations with a focus on efficiency and profit, often disregarding environmental and cultural consequences. Colonel Quaritch, in contrast, represents military pragmatism and aggression, deploying mechanized walkers, heavily armed gunships, and surveillance drones to achieve strategic objectives. Early human Nasik's encounters are tense and fraught with misunderstanding, highlighting the cultural and ethical chasm between the two groups. Jake's role as intermediary becomes increasingly complex as he navigates loyalties, moral obligations, and emerging affection for the Nasiks. The narrative reaches critical intensity when the humans target the home tree, a sacred Nasik structure that serves as a spiritual, communal, and cultural hub. Its destruction represents the human disregard for sacred traditions and ecological balance. As the home tree falls, dramatic tension peaks, fire and explosions consume the massive tree, Nasik's families are displaced, and the community's resilience is tested. Jake, now fully aligned with the Nasiks, takes a leadership role, orchestrating defenses and coordinating strategies that blend Nasik's skills, knowledge of Pandora's terrain, and his understanding of human technology. Ground and aerial sequences depict coordinated attacks on human machinery, using natural camouflage, guerrilla tactics, and aerial assaults with Ikrans. These sequences are choreographed to showcase the synergy of spiritual alignment, environmental intelligence, and physical skill over brute technological force. Secondary characters continue to influence narrative and moral development. Trudy Chacon, a human pilot, chooses to assist the Nasiks, illustrating the power of ethical choice and personal conscience. Dar. Grace Augustine provides both cultural guidance and scientific insight, helping Jake make decisions that honor Pandora's ecology and Nasik's traditions. Moat offers spiritual wisdom, emphasizing patience, balance, and alignment with Eywa. Their interactions highlight recurring themes, the importance of moral courage, the consequences of choices, and the value of cross-cultural understanding. Pandora's wildlife, each depicted with ecological plausibility and narrative significance, contributes to both the visual spectacle and plot progression. Predators like viper wolves operate with intelligence and coordination, herbivores like dire horses provide transportation and companionship, and apex aerial predators like the great Leonopteryx symbolize power, trust, and territory. Even smaller organisms, such as bioluminescent insects and pollinating plants, are woven into the narrative to reinforce the interconnectedness of life and the impact of human intrusion. These creatures are not mere decoration, they actively participate in survival, conflict, and community life, emphasizing Cameron's ecological vision. Rituals and ceremonies are deeply woven into the Nasik's experience. Bonding with animals, participating in the Tree of Souls connection, and seasonal rites are depicted with rich sensory detail. Neural connection sequences, chants, and coordinated physical movement communicate spiritual alignment, ancestral continuity, and communal cohesion. Jake's participation in these rituals signifies his full acceptance and integration, completing his arc from outsider to respected member of the clan. Dialogue during these scenes often emphasizes reflection, reverence, and moral clarity, reinforcing the ethical framework that guides Nasik's life. The film culminates with Jake permanently transferring his consciousness into his avatar body at the Tree of Souls, abandoning his human form. This act signifies full immersion into Gnostic's culture and a moral choice to live aligned with Pandora's values. Neytiri's affirmation of Jake's transformation, alongside the Omaticaia's celebration, underscores themes of spiritual continuity, ecological balance, and resilience in the face of adversity. Pandora itself emerges as both character and setting, scarred yet thriving, a testament to the triumph of harmony, wisdom, and courage over exploitation and greed. Avatar's technical achievements are monumental. The seamless integration of performance capture, facial tracking, and CGI allows for nuanced emotional expression. Pandora's design combines inspiration from Earth's biology with imaginative alien evolution, creating ecosystems that are both fantastical and believable. The 3D presentation immerses audiences in spatial depth and environmental scale, while attention to color, light, and movement reinforces the ethereal, magical qualities of the moon. Cameron's vision ensures that narrative, character, and world-building are inseparable, producing an experience that is visually stunning, emotionally resonant, and thematically profound. Released on December 18, 2009, Avatar achieved unprecedented commercial success and critical acclaim. Its narrative, environmental and ethical themes, and technological innovations influenced the film industry, popular culture, and global discussions on ecological responsibility. Sequels are planned to explore Pandora's oceans, other clans, and deeper facets of Gnostic's culture, promising further immersion in Cameron's richly constructed universe. Avatar's legacy continues as a benchmark in storytelling, visual effects, and thematic resonance, blending entertainment with ethical reflection and cultural depth. After the home tree's destruction, the Omaticaia clan faces both material and spiritual upheaval. The displaced Gnostics gather in temporary shelters, tending to injured members and mourning the loss of their sacred home. Scenes during this period are rich in emotional detail, clan members console one another through song and chant, and elders recount stories of resilience and ancestral guidance, emphasizing the continuity of their culture even in the face of devastation. Jake, now fully recognized as a member of the clan, takes a central role in coordinating relief and defense efforts. Dialogue during these moments reveals his transformation. He speaks with authority tempered by humility, blending human strategic knowledge with Gnostic's moral and spiritual values. The scenes emphasize leadership as a function of empathy, cultural literacy, and ethical responsibility rather than brute strength. In these sequences, smaller character arcs are explored. Norm Spellman, a human scientist sympathetic to the Gnostics, provides insight into Pandora's flora and fauna, often drawing parallels between human scientific methodology and Gnostic's ecological knowledge. His collaboration with Dr. Grace Augustine highlights the potential for cross-cultural and cross-species understanding, emphasizing themes of learning, respect, and ethical science. Trudy Chacon continues to act as a human ally, using her piloting skills to provide reconnaissance and tactical support. Her interactions with Jake and the Gnostics reveal the complexity of moral choice under conflict, demonstrating that allegiance is not merely a matter of species or culture but of ethical discernment. Pandora's wildlife continues to play critical roles in both narrative and thematic development. The great Leonopteryx, a majestic apex predator, serves as a symbol of leadership and courage. Its interactions with Jake underscore the importance of mutual trust and respect between species. Dire horses, ikrans, and banshees are not only transportation mechanisms but also partners in hunting, exploration, and combat. The intricate neural connections between Gnostics and animals illustrate the deeper ecological intelligence inherent in Pandora, emphasizing that cooperation across species is foundational to survival and prosperity. Smaller creatures, such as luminescent insects and aquatic species, contribute to ecosystem dynamics, pollination, and environmental indicators, demonstrating that Pandora's balance depends on each life form, no matter how seemingly insignificant. The aerial battle sequences are meticulously staged, combining action, strategy, and ecological interaction. Gnostics riders coordinate maneuvers through the Hallelujah Mountains, leveraging the floating peaks, wind currents, and environmental cover to outmaneuver human gunships. Ground combat utilizes jungle terrain, roots, and natural barriers to slow armored vehicles and create ambush opportunities. Each action sequence is infused with ethical stakes, showing that the Nausicaa fight not merely for survival but to protect the moral, spiritual, and ecological integrity of their home. Dialogue during these battles emphasizes coordination, trust, and strategic foresight, illustrating how knowledge, unity, and respect for the environment can overcome technological superiority. Nausicaa rituals are depicted with elaborate detail, reinforcing the film's spiritual and cultural richness. Bonding ceremonies with creatures, neural connections to the Tree of Souls, and seasonal rites involve song, chant, synchronized movement, and neural linking. These rituals communicate ancestral knowledge, collective memory, and guidance from Eywa. Jake's full participation in these ceremonies signifies his complete assimilation and moral alignment with the Nausicaa worldview. The ritual language, movement patterns, and symbolic acts reinforce central themes: interconnectedness, ethical stewardship, and the harmony of life across species and generations. The film's human technology is depicted with narrative clarity and specificity. Mechanized walkers, heavily armed helicopters, surveillance drones, and advanced mining equipment illustrate the humans' reliance on technological power to exert control over Pandora. Each device is described in terms of function, operation, and tactical use, highlighting the contrast between technological efficiency and ethical shortfall. These technological details deepen the stakes, showing that while humans possess material superiority, their lack of spiritual and ecological understanding is their ultimate vulnerability. As the narrative concludes, the permanent transfer of Jake's consciousness into his avatar body represents the final convergence of ethical, spiritual, and physical arcs. The ceremony at the Tree of Souls involves the entire clan and emphasizes Eywa's presence and guidance. Dialogue reflects gratitude, reverence, and the continuity of cultural tradition. Neytiri's recognition of Jake's transformation symbolizes trust, love, and shared responsibility, completing both their character arcs. The Omaticaya celebrate, reinforcing resilience, communal solidarity, and the ongoing stewardship of Pandora. Avatar's technical and artistic achievements are woven throughout the narrative. Motion capture technology captures nuanced emotional expression, allowing characters to convey subtle reactions and interpersonal dynamics. CGI environments integrate biological plausibility with imaginative design, creating a seamless, immersive world. Stereoscopic 3D enhances spatial awareness and environmental depth, immersing audiences in Pandora's forests, mountains, rivers, and skies. Cameron's meticulous world-building ensures that every visual element serves narrative, thematic, or emotional purpose, making Pandora a fully realized character in its own right. Upon its December 18, 2009 release, Avatar became a global phenomenon, influencing the film industry, popular culture, and ethical discourse. It combined thrilling adventure, romance, environmental awareness, and spiritual exploration into a unified cinematic experience. Critical and commercial success was driven by immersive storytelling, innovative technology, and the resonance of its ecological and ethical themes. Discussions of environmental stewardship, cultural respect, and ethical leadership were amplified by the film's narrative, ensuring that Avatar's impact extended beyond the screen. Planned sequels promise to explore Pandora's oceans, new clans, and uncharted ecological zones, further expanding the universe Cameron created. Pandora's forests are alive in every sense of the word, a symphony of movement, color, and sound that immerses any observer immediately into its complex web of life. The trees themselves are enormous, their trunks thick and gnarled, their branches spreading out into a canopy that blocks sunlight during the day but glows softly at night as bioluminescent plants and fungi illuminate the understory. Every leaf, vine, and root seems to pulse with life, subtly moving in response to wind, animal activity, or even the presence of the Nausicaa. In the rivers and streams, water creatures of every shape and size interact seamlessly, from small schooling fish that flash like living gems to predatory amphibians that lurk beneath the surface, waiting for an unsuspecting meal. The air itself is thick with energy, floating spores drift lazily among the trees, and the calls of distant creatures echo through the forests, creating a rich auditory backdrop that is both beautiful and foreboding. Each region of Pandora, whether it's the luminous forests near the home tree, the swampy wetlands, or the floating Hallelujah Mountains, is ecologically distinct, yet every element is part of a single, interconnected system orchestrated by Eywa. The Na-6's understanding of this system is profound. They observe, listen, and interact with each element with precision and reverence. A Na-6 warrior does not merely hunt, they read the signs of the forest, follow the subtle shifts in wind and scent, and sense disturbances in the neural network of Eywa, allowing them to act in harmony with the environment. This deep ecological literacy forms the foundation of Na-6 culture, ethics, and survival. Jake Sully's arrival in Pandora, in his avatar body, is a sensory awakening. After years of paralysis, every movement feels like a liberation, every leap across forest gaps or sprint through underbrush an expression of newfound freedom. The physical exhilaration mirrors a spiritual awakening. Jake begins to shed his human limitations, not only in body but in perception and empathy. Observing the Na-6 from a distance initially, he notices their fluid communication, the way their neural cues link with animals, and their precise movements in harmony with nature. His first contact with Neytiri is tense. She regards him with suspicion and a warrior's instinct, recognizing immediately that he is not one of them. Dialogue in these early encounters is sharp, cautionary, and laced with cultural nuances. Neytiri instructs him in subtle, pointed ways, teaching the first lessons of Na-6 ethics, respect, attentiveness, and the understanding that strength without harmony is meaningless. Over days and weeks, Jake begins to internalize these lessons, gradually earning her tentative trust through observation, humility, and effort. The Na-6's relationship with their environment is ritualized, ceremonial, and deeply spiritual. When hunting, they offer thanks to Eywa for the life they take, ensuring that even survival is ethically framed. When interacting with animals, the neural connections formed through the cue allow empathy and understanding. Predators, prey, and domesticated creatures alike are treated with respect and reverence. This spiritual ecology extends to sacred sites like the Tree of Souls, which serves as a conduit to ancestral wisdom. The tree is vast, its roots intertwining with countless life forms, and its neural network connects to every living being on Pandora. When Na-6 gather here, they connect with the tree through their cues, entering a state of communion with Eywa that is both spiritual and biological. Through these sequences, the film portrays a worldview in which life is interconnected at every level, emphasizing balance, ethical action, and communal responsibility. Jake's participation in these rites is transformative, marking his full spiritual and moral integration into Na-6 life. Human intrusion into Pandora is depicted as a clash of ideologies and ethics, visualized through technological domination and environmental disruption. Parker Selfridge oversees mining operations with bureaucratic efficiency, prioritizing unobtainium extraction over ecological or cultural concerns. Colonel Quaritch represents militarized pragmatism, utilizing gunships, armored walkers, and surveillance drones to assert control. The contrast between human technology and Na-6 harmony is deliberate. While humans possess tools of incredible power, they lack the ethical and ecological literacy that governs the Na-6. Scenes depicting clear-cutting of forests, the uprooting of sacred trees, and mechanized assaults on wildlife highlight the consequences of exploitation. Dialogue between military and corporate figures often underscores the dissonance between profit motives, tactical efficiency, and moral responsibility, creating a layered narrative tension that parallels Jake's internal conflict. The destruction of the home tree is a pivotal narrative moment, both visually and emotionally. The massive tree, home to hundreds of Na-6 and a central spiritual site, is set ablaze by human firepower. Explosions rock the forest as panicked Na-6 flee, and the tree's towering structure collapses with catastrophic force. This moment conveys the fragility of cultural and ecological systems in the face of technological exploitation. Jake's reaction is a mix of horror, grief, and determination. His first fully autonomous choice to defend the Na-6 signifies the turning point in his allegiance. He is no longer merely a spy or observer, he is a participant, committed to the survival of Pandora and its people. The Na-6 rally, demonstrating strategic intelligence and deep environmental awareness, coordinating defenses using both land and aerial tactics. They navigate the jungle, rivers, and mountains with precision, using natural obstacles and the terrain's unique features to offset the human technological advantage. In these sequences, the interplay of natural and spiritual intelligence with tactical skill becomes the narrative's focal point. Minor characters enrich the tapestry of the story. Trudy Chacon, once a loyal human pilot, defects to support the Na-6, embodying the film's theme that ethical choice transcends cultural or species identity. Norm Spellman, a human scientist and ally to the Na-6, provides insight into the interconnectedness of Pandora's flora and fauna, demonstrating that observation, respect, and knowledge can bridge worlds. Dr. Grace Augustine serves as mentor and moral compass, guiding Jake's transition and emphasizing the ethical imperative of coexistence. Through these relationships, the narrative explores themes of moral responsibility, cross-cultural understanding, and the consequences of action or inaction. Each minor character's arc, though not central to the main battle, reinforces the ethical and ecological stakes of Pandora, ensuring that the world feels alive, morally complex, and interconnected. The Omaticea clan's daily life reveals a society intricately balanced between survival, spirituality, and social cohesion. Early mornings are marked by coordinated activities, hunters prepare for excursions, elders instruct youth in the ways of the forest, and caregivers tend to the sick and elderly, using both practical and spiritual remedies derived from the abundant flora. Jake observes these routines closely, noting the integration of cultural knowledge with ecological literacy. Neytiri demonstrates the importance of observation, teaching him to identify subtle changes in the forest, how the movement of leaves can indicate approaching predators, or how the behavior of smaller animals may hint at environmental shifts. These lessons are not merely practical, they carry ethical significance, underscoring the Na-6 belief that all life is interconnected and that actions have consequences beyond immediate perception. Bonding with creatures is central to Na-6 identity, and Jake's journey in this regard is pivotal. His first attempt to mount a dire horse involves negotiation, patience, and mutual respect, with Neytiri guiding him through a series of careful steps. The neural connection, made through the cue, allows both creature and rider to communicate, forming a partnership built on trust rather than coercion. Later, bonding with an Ikran elevates the stakes. The Ikran's flight through the floating Hallelujah Mountains demands acute spatial awareness, emotional control, and confidence. The moment Jake finally rides the Ikran successfully is a narrative milestone. He is fully accepted into the clan's social and spiritual hierarchy, and the experience symbolizes both literal and metaphorical ascent. These sequences emphasize that courage alone is insufficient, ethical understanding, empathy, and alignment with natural law are essential. Human technological presence on Pandora is portrayed with meticulous attention to detail. Parker Selfridge's corporate administration involves advanced machinery designed for large-scale extraction, including hovering excavators, mechanized drilling rigs, and automated logging devices. Colonel Quaritch commands armed walkers, heavily armored vehicles, and attack helicopters, all equipped with targeting systems and weaponry optimized for terrain assault. Surveillance drones monitor Na-6 movements, while tactical operations are planned with military precision. This technological dominance, however, is juxtaposed against Na-6 ingenuity, ambushes leveraging jungle terrain, strategic use of rivers and cliffs, and cooperative coordination with animals and environmental cues highlight that ethical intelligence, ecological literacy, and community coordination can counteract mechanical superiority. The destruction of the home tree is both a dramatic set piece and an ethical turning point. The fire and explosions devastate the central Na-6 structure, scattering families and damaging sacred grounds. The sequence is rich in visual, auditory, and emotional cues. Falling timbers, roaring flames, and frantic cries are interspersed with close-ups of grief, shock, and determination on the faces of the Na-6. Dialogue reflects urgency, fear, and planning. Elders coordinate escape, warriors organize defensive formations, and Jake steps fully into a leadership role. This pivotal moment catalyzes the central conflict: human industrial greed versus Na-6 ecological and spiritual integrity. It also solidifies Jake's moral alignment. He is no longer an observer but a defender, strategist, and participant, embodying the integration of human ingenuity with Na-6 ethical principles. The Na-6 response to human aggression exemplifies their strategic intelligence. Coordinated aerial assaults involve Ikran riders executing precise flight patterns, often weaving between floating mountains to evade gunships. Ground operations exploit the jungle's natural cover, ambushes using root traps, forested choke points, and manipulated river flows slow human vehicles. Each battle sequence demonstrates the Na-6's intimate understanding of the environment, combined with the tactical foresight Jake brings from his human perspective. Scenes are choreographed to highlight teamwork, communication, and ethical resolve, showing that victory depends not only on skill but also on moral clarity and environmental awareness. Minor characters add layers of ethical, emotional, and narrative depth. Trudy Chacon chooses to defy military orders, illustrating the power of individual ethical choice and empathy. Norm Spellman's knowledge bridges human science and Na-6 understanding, showing that observation and respect can build cross-cultural collaboration. Dar. Grace Augustine mentors Jake, emphasizing moral responsibility, spiritual alignment, and ecological stewardship. Moat provides the spiritual and ethical framework for the clan, reminding both the Na-6 and Jake that actions must align with Eywa's guidance. Each character reinforces the narrative's themes of respect, moral courage, and interconnectedness, while their interactions provide subplots and emotional texture that enrich the world building. Pandora's wildlife is central to both plot and thematic development. Apex predators like the great Leonopteryx exhibit intelligence, territoriality, and selective bonding with riders, symbolizing the union of power and trust. Viper wolves operate in packs, displaying coordination and strategic hunting behaviors. Herbivores like dire horses support human and Na-6 mobility, while amphibious creatures populate rivers and wetlands, contributing to ecological balance. Even the smallest organisms, from bioluminescent insects to pollinating plants, are integrated into sequences to reinforce the interconnectedness of life and the consequences of human intrusion. Every interaction between Na-6, wildlife, and the environment carries narrative weight, underscoring the film's ethical and ecological themes. Rituals and ceremonies are central to Na-6 culture. Bonding with creatures, connecting with the Tree of Souls, and seasonal rites involve synchronized movement, neural connection, and chanting. These rituals convey ancestral knowledge, spiritual guidance, and communal solidarity. Jake's participation demonstrates his full integration into the culture, while dialogue during these moments emphasizes reverence, reflection, and ethical clarity. The rituals serve as narrative anchors, connecting action sequences to moral and spiritual consequences, ensuring that the story's spectacle is grounded in ethical and cultural context. The climax, involving the coordinated defense against human forces, combines aerial spectacle, environmental strategy, and moral resolution. Na-6 warriors execute complex flight maneuvers, using knowledge of wind currents, mountain paths, and predator behavior to outwit mechanized human forces. Ground engagements are equally detailed, natural obstacles, camouflage, and ambushes highlight ecological intelligence and community cooperation. Dialogue underscores coordination, trust, and moral courage, reinforcing the idea that ethical action, empathy, and environmental literacy are central to true power. The victory is symbolic as well as literal. The Na-6 protect their home, assert their cultural integrity, and demonstrate the triumph of harmony over exploitation. Following the fall of the home tree, the Omaticaya clan faces the daunting task of rebuilding not just their homes, but their spiritual and social cohesion. Elders lead ceremonies to honor the lost ancestors and the sacred energy of the destroyed home tree, invoking Eywa to guide them through this period of upheaval. Children are taught the importance of resilience, community solidarity, and ecological stewardship through stories, chants, and observation of adult practices. Jake plays an active role in these activities, demonstrating not only leadership but also empathy and understanding. His presence helps bridge the gap between the clan's spiritual traditions and the practical knowledge he has retained from his human upbringing, providing a rare fusion of cultural intelligence that strengthens the clan's ability to respond to external threats. As the Na-6 prepare for conflict, their tactics blend environmental intelligence with spiritual awareness. The forests themselves become active participants in defense strategies, branches are used as natural tripwires, river currents are manipulated to slow mechanized vehicles, and bioluminescent plants are arranged to create confusion for human sensors. Jake, drawing on his military experience, collaborates with Neytiri and other clan leaders to coordinate both aerial and ground defenses. Iquins weave through the floating Hallelujah Mountains, using wind currents and natural tunnels to gain advantage over human gunships. The combination of Nasik's intuition and Jake's tactical insight allows the clan to anticipate attacks, deploy resources efficiently, and minimize casualties. These sequences emphasize that intelligence, harmony with nature, and moral resolve outweigh brute technological power. Meanwhile, human characters continue to reveal complex motivations. Parker Selfridge struggles with corporate pressures, bureaucratic oversight, and his own occasional ethical doubts. Though motivated primarily by profit, moments of hesitation indicate an awareness, however limited, of Pandora's intrinsic value. Colonel Quaritch represents uncompromising militarism. His strategic mind, physical discipline, and tactical aggression make him a formidable adversary. Trudy Chacon's defection illustrates the potential for human empathy to transcend institutional allegiance, while Norm Spellman and Dr. Grace Augustine provide ethical and scientific guidance, highlighting that knowledge and respect can create bridges between cultures. These interactions deepen the narrative, exploring the tension between ethics, personal responsibility, and systemic pressures. Nasik's wildlife is portrayed with both imagination and ecological plausibility. The great Leonopteryx, an apex aerial predator, demonstrates selective intelligence and bondable behavior, symbolizing power, courage, and spiritual alignment. Packs of viper wolves hunt with coordination, reflecting the communal and intelligent aspects of nature. Dire horses and other herbivores serve as transport and companions, reinforcing the theme of interconnectedness. Aquatic and amphibious species in Pandora's rivers and wetlands maintain ecosystem balance, while smaller bioluminescent organisms provide illumination, pollination, and environmental cues. Each species' behavior is carefully choreographed to interact with human and Nasik's actions, creating a living, responsive world where every life form has narrative significance. Nasik's rituals further anchor the narrative in spiritual and ethical context. Bonding with creatures involves mutual respect, consent, and neural connection, demonstrating an ethical symbiosis rather than domination. Connection to the Tree of Souls allows communication with ancestral spirits, providing guidance and insight. Seasonal rites celebrate the cycles of life and the interdependence of all beings on Pandora. Dialogue during these sequences often includes chants, moral instruction, and reflections on harmony, reinforcing the cultural and spiritual framework that governs Nasik's actions. Jake's participation in these ceremonies signifies his moral, spiritual, and cultural assimilation, completing his transformation from human observer to fully integrated Nasik's. The climactic battle sequences combine narrative, ethical, and visual complexity. Nasik's warriors execute intricate aerial maneuvers, using the topography of the floating mountains, river currents, and forest cover to gain strategic advantage. Ground tactics involve ambushes, root traps, and use of natural camouflage to outsmart technologically superior human machinery. Every action emphasizes ethical resolve, intelligence, and cooperation. Jake's dual knowledge of human tactics and Nasik's environmental expertise allows the clan to anticipate attacks and coordinate defenses with precision. Dialogue reflects trust, teamwork, and moral clarity, reinforcing the idea that victory is a product of unity, knowledge, and respect rather than simple force. Following the battle, Jake undergoes the permanent transfer of his consciousness into his avatar body at the Tree of Souls. This act symbolizes his full integration into the Nasik's community and represents the culmination of his physical, moral, and spiritual transformation. Neytiri affirms his choice, reinforcing themes of trust, love, and shared responsibility. The Omaticaya celebrate their victory, restore balance to their sacred sites, and reaffirm their cultural and ecological stewardship. Pandora, scarred but resilient, stands as a living testament to the triumph of harmony, intelligence, and ethical action over greed and exploitation. The technological achievements in Avatar amplify the storytelling. Motion capture technology captures subtle emotional nuances, allowing digital avatars to convey authentic expression. CGI is employed to create ecosystems that are both fantastical and biologically plausible, with attention to behavior, anatomy, and interspecies interactions. Stereoscopic 3D enhances the spatial depth of forests, mountains, and oceans, immersing audiences in Pandora's environment. Cameron's meticulous design ensures that visual spectacle complements narrative, theme, and emotion, making the environment itself a character with agency, intelligence, and spiritual resonance. Upon release on December 18, 2009, Avatar achieved unprecedented critical and commercial success. Its exploration of environmentalism, ethics, and cross-cultural understanding resonated globally. The film's technological innovations set new standards for motion capture, CGI, and immersive 3D storytelling. Ethical themes, romance, and adventure intertwined to create a cinematic experience that transcended entertainment, sparking discussions on ecological stewardship, cultural respect, and moral responsibility. Subsequent sequels promise to expand Pandora's oceans, new clans, and deeper cultural exploration, ensuring that the universe Cameron created continues to evolve and inspire. After the home tree's destruction, the Omaticaya clan is forced to confront both the physical and spiritual devastation that threatens their way of life. Elders convene to provide guidance, recounting ancestral stories that emphasize resilience, wisdom, and balance with Eywa. Children gather around, absorbing lessons on respect for life, community solidarity, and ethical action. The clan rebuilds temporary shelters, carefully utilizing materials from the surrounding forest without harming the ecosystem. Jake participates actively, helping with construction while offering insights drawn from his human perspective, such as structural reinforcement and resource allocation. Yet he balances these contributions with Gnostic's practices, ensuring that no action violates spiritual or ecological principles. This combination of practical knowledge and ethical alignment showcases the synthesis of human intelligence with Gnostic's moral and ecological wisdom. Meanwhile, the Gnostics prepare for the inevitable human retaliation. Strategic discussions revolve around terrain utilization, environmental advantages, and coordinated movements. Jake collaborates closely with Neytiri and other clan leaders to organize both aerial and ground defenses. Ikrans serve as rapid response units, scanning the skies and delivering Gnostic's warriors to critical locations. On the ground, ambush points are set using jungle routes, river crossings, and natural choke points to slow mechanized human vehicles. Each maneuver is carefully coordinated, demonstrating the Gnostics' intimate understanding of Pandora's ecology and the strategic advantage provided by aligning action with natural forces. These sequences emphasize that intelligence, harmony, and ethical foresight are essential for survival, echoing the film's thematic core. Trudy Chacon continues to exemplify human ethical choice in the midst of conflict. Her decision to aid the Gnostics places her in direct opposition to her military orders, highlighting the narrative theme that morality often requires courage to act against institutional authority. She performs reconnaissance flights, provides tactical intelligence, and assists in critical aerial engagements. Her presence also allows moments of human-Gnostics collaboration, bridging cultural and species divides. Dialogue between Trudy, Jake, and other Gnostics warriors often includes tactical instruction, warnings about human strategies, and ethical reflections on the necessity of protecting Pandora's life forms. These interactions reinforce the narrative's recurring emphasis on conscious choice, empathy, and cross-cultural understanding. Pandora's wildlife remains central to both narrative progression and thematic resonance. The Great Leonopteryx demonstrates intelligence, territorial behavior, and a selective bond with riders, symbolizing courage, trust, and leadership. Packs of viper wolves exhibit complex hunting coordination, reflecting the communal intelligence of Pandora's species. Herbivores such as dire horses and other medium-sized mammals serve both practical and emotional roles, aiding transport and reinforcing the deep bonds between Gnostics and their environment. Aquatic species populate rivers and wetlands, maintaining ecosystem balance, while luminescent insects and plants provide navigational cues, illumination, and environmental indicators. Each interaction between Na-6, wildlife, and humans is choreographed to advance plot, highlight ethical dilemmas, and showcase Pandora as a fully integrated living system. Na-6 rituals intensify in significance during these tense periods. Bonding with creatures involves consent, neural synchronization, and mutual respect, reinforcing ethical interspecies relationships. Connection to the Tree of Souls allows communication with ancestral spirits, providing guidance and insight into strategic and ethical decisions. Seasonal rites celebrate the cycles of life, emphasizing interdependence among all species. Dialogue during these moments includes chants, moral instruction, and reflective commentary, giving audiences insight into Na-6 spiritual and ethical frameworks. Jake's participation signifies his complete assimilation and moral alignment with the Na-6 worldview, integrating human cognitive flexibility with Na-6 spiritual and ethical principles. The climactic conflict between humans and the Na-6 is portrayed with staggering visual, emotional, and strategic depth. Aerial maneuvers with Ikrans exploit wind currents, floating mountain paths, and environmental cover to outmaneuver human gunships. Ground engagements utilize natural obstacles, camouflage, and guerrilla tactics to counter armored vehicles and mechanized weaponry. The Na-6's understanding of ecosystem dynamics allows them to anticipate human movements and deploy resources with precision. Dialogue underscores coordination, trust, and ethical clarity, emphasizing that victory is achieved through unity, intelligence, and respect for life rather than sheer technological might. Each sequence blends spectacle with thematic resonance, illustrating the film's core message of harmony, resilience, and moral action. Following victory, Jake undergoes the permanent transfer of his consciousness into his avatar body at the Tree of Souls. This moment is both a spiritual and emotional climax. His transformation signifies total immersion into Na-6 culture and the conscious choice to live in alignment with Pandora's values. Neytiri acknowledges his transformation, reinforcing themes of trust, love, and mutual responsibility. The clan celebrates, restoring sacred spaces, reaffirming spiritual and ecological stewardship, and demonstrating the resilience of cultural and ethical frameworks. Pandora, scarred yet vibrant, embodies the triumph of wisdom, ethical action, and environmental balance over greed, exploitation, and destructive technology. Cameron's technical achievements amplify every narrative element. Motion capture technology captures subtle emotional expression, allowing digital avatars to convey nuanced interpersonal dynamics. CGI environments blend realism with imagination, creating flora and fauna that are both biologically plausible and visually fantastical. The stereoscopic 3D presentation immerses audiences in Pandora's forests, oceans, mountains, and skies, making the setting a fully realized character. Every visual element, lighting, movement, color, serves narrative, thematic, or emotional purposes, ensuring that Pandora's presence enhances story, character development, and thematic depth simultaneously. Upon its December 18, 2009 release, Avatar became a cultural phenomenon. Audiences worldwide were captivated by its immersive world-building, environmental and ethical themes, and emotional resonance. Critical acclaim highlighted the film's innovation in storytelling, visual effects, and motion capture technology. Discussions of ecological stewardship, cross-cultural understanding, and ethical responsibility were amplified by the narrative, positioning Avatar as both entertainment and a lens for global reflection. Subsequent sequels promise further exploration of Pandora's oceans, uncharted regions, and new clans, extending the universe and deepening engagement with its themes, culture, and ecology. In the aftermath of battle, the Omaticaya clan engages in meticulous restoration of their environment, combining spiritual practices with practical labor. Fallen trees are carefully repurposed to rebuild shelters without disrupting surrounding ecosystems. Clan members harvest medicinal plants to treat injuries sustained during combat, simultaneously honoring the principle that life, even when taken, must be respected and integrated. Jake assists in these efforts, blending his human understanding of structural stability and medical techniques with Na-6 ecological practices. The dialogue between Jake, Neytiri, and the elders emphasizes patience, respect, and the necessity of balance, reinforcing the film's central theme that survival is intertwined with ethical stewardship and communal cooperation. Rituals regain prominence as the clan reconnects with Eywa. Evening ceremonies beneath the bioluminescent canopy of the surviving forests involve synchronized movements, chanting, and neural connection through cues to the Tree of Souls. These rituals convey ancestral guidance, spiritual clarity, and ethical instruction. Jake participates fully, bridging human consciousness with Gnostic spiritual understanding. His speech during these moments reflects both awe and humility, acknowledging his prior ignorance and affirming commitment to the interconnectedness of life. The ritual sequences not only reinforce cultural identity but serve as narrative markers for Jake's transformation, cementing his role as a spiritual, cultural, and tactical leader within the clan. As the humans regroup and attempt to reclaim control, strategic interactions between human technology and Gnostic's environmental intelligence escalate. Parker Selfridge plans industrial reinforcement of extraction sites, while Colonel Quaritch organizes mechanized assaults on key terrain points. Surveillance drones map Gnostic's positions, and armored walkers threaten forested zones. In response, Gnostic's warriors employ guerrilla tactics, environmental manipulation, and coordinated aerial attacks with Ikrans. Jake's knowledge of human strategy allows the Gnostics to anticipate attacks, set traps, and exploit weaknesses in mechanized equipment. These sequences highlight the thematic contrast between technological might without ethical grounding and the power of intelligence, coordination, and environmental harmony informed by moral awareness. Minor character interactions continue to enrich the narrative. Trudy Chacon undertakes critical aerial reconnaissance missions, often conveying tactical advice to Jake and his Gnostics allies. Norm Spellman records detailed observations of fauna and ecological interactions, offering insight into species behavior that informs defensive tactics. Dr. Grace Augustine, through dialogue and mentorship, provides moral, scientific, and cultural guidance, reminding both Jake and the Gnostics that understanding and empathy are essential for survival and ethical action. These human perspectives underscore the film's recurring exploration of cross-cultural understanding, ethical responsibility, and the importance of acting in alignment with the natural and spiritual order. Pandora's wildlife is continuously engaged in narrative and thematic action. Apex predators like the great Leonopteryx assert dominance while cooperating with bonded riders, symbolizing the ethical dimension of trust and mutual respect. Packs of viper wolves hunt in coordinated patterns, demonstrating communal intelligence. Herbivorous species such as dire horses provide both transportation and companionship. Smaller species, including bioluminescent insects and aquatic organisms, maintain ecological balance while interacting with human and Gnostics actions. Each creature's behavior is detailed in motion, interaction, and consequence, reinforcing Cameron's commitment to portraying Pandora as a living, responsive, and ethically complex world. Aerial combat scenes during these engagements are choreographed with extreme precision, emphasizing ethical intelligence over brute force. Gnostics riders navigate the Hallelujah Mountain's floating peaks, leveraging wind currents, rock formations, and vegetation cover to outmaneuver human gunships. Ground combat employs natural traps, ambushes, and environmental manipulation to impede mechanized walkers and armored vehicles. Dialogue during these sequences emphasizes trust, coordination, and moral clarity, highlighting that victory relies on knowledge, ethics, and environmental attunement rather than technological dominance. The cinematic presentation intertwines spectacle with narrative, ensuring that action sequences advance both plot and thematic resonance. Following the decisive engagements, Jake undergoes permanent transfer into his avatar body at the Tree of Souls, marking the apex of his physical, spiritual, and moral journey. The ceremony involves the entire clan, whose chants, synchronized movement, and neural connection amplify Eywa's presence. Jake's internal dialogue reflects gratitude, reverence, and commitment to Pandora's ethical and spiritual principles. Neytiri's affirmation of his transformation encapsulates trust, love, and shared responsibility, completing both their character arcs. The clan's subsequent celebrations reinforce communal bonds, ecological stewardship, and spiritual continuity, emphasizing resilience and moral integrity in the face of adversity. Technical achievements in Avatar are integrated seamlessly into the narrative. Motion capture technology preserves subtle facial expressions and body language, ensuring authentic emotional resonance. CGI creates ecosystems that are biologically plausible yet fantastical, from the intricate vascular systems of towering trees to the behaviorally accurate movement of wildlife. Stereoscopic 3D presentation enhances spatial immersion, allowing audiences to perceive depth in the forests, oceans, and floating mountains. Every visual element, including light, shadow, movement, and color, serves story, theme, and emotion, ensuring that Pandora functions as a character with agency, intelligence, and spiritual resonance. Upon its December 18, 2009 release, Avatar achieved worldwide acclaim for its technical innovation, immersive storytelling, and thematic resonance. Its integration of environmental, ethical, and cultural exploration within a blockbuster framework engaged audiences and critics alike. Discussions on ecological stewardship, ethical responsibility, and cross-cultural understanding were amplified through its narrative, influencing popular and academic discourse. Sequels are anticipated to further explore Pandora's oceans, undiscovered regions, and additional clans, expanding the ecological, cultural, and technological depth of Cameron's universe while continuing to address moral and ethical challenges. After the climactic battle, the Omaticaya focus on rehabilitation and renewal. Clan members gather in small groups to assess damage to the forest, using careful observation to avoid further ecological disruption. Fallen branches are repurposed to build temporary shelters, and medicinal plants are harvested to tend to wounded members. Elders lead reflection circles where they recount ancestral wisdom, reinforcing lessons on resilience, communal responsibility, and ethical stewardship. Jake contributes both human-derived structural knowledge and Gnostics-aligned ecological practices, demonstrating a fusion of skill sets that underscores the film's theme of cross-cultural and cross-species integration. His dialogue with Neytiri and the elders reveals growing humility and a profound understanding of Pandora's interdependent systems. Ritual practices regain centrality as the clan reconnects spiritually. Daily ceremonies beneath the bioluminescent canopy involve synchronized movements, chanting, and cue connections to the Tree of Souls. These rituals provide guidance, insight, and moral clarity for the clan's actions. Jake participates fully, reflecting on his journey from human outsider to integrated member of the Omaticaya. He experiences profound communion with Eywa, sensing the interconnectivity of all life on Pandora. Dialogue during these sequences includes chants, reflections on ancestral wisdom, and ethical guidance, grounding narrative spectacle in spiritual and moral significance. These moments emphasize that survival is inseparable from ethical and ecological consciousness. As humans regroup, Parker Selfridge and Colonel Quaritch plan renewed incursions. Selfridge focuses on resource extraction efficiency, balancing profit motives with bureaucratic oversight. Quaritch, representing military precision, deploys mechanized walkers, armed helicopters, and surveillance drones to reclaim territory. These technological deployments are visually detailed, from the articulating limbs of armored walkers to the targeting systems of aerial gunships. In contrast, Gnostics defenders leverage terrain, ecology, and intuition. Ambushes utilize river currents, forested choke points, and root traps, while Ikran riders exploit wind patterns, floating mountain formations, and predator alliances. These strategic maneuvers highlight the advantage of ethical intelligence, environmental literacy, and coordination over raw technological power. Trudy Chacon remains an active ally to the Gnostics, defying orders and risking personal safety to assist in reconnaissance and tactical operations. Her interactions with Jake and Neytiri demonstrate human capacity for ethical choice and empathy. Norm Spellman documents flora, fauna, and ecological patterns, providing data that informs defensive strategies. Dr. Grace Augustine mentors Jake, offering moral guidance and scientific insight. These minor characters provide narrative depth, illustrating that ethical action, respect for culture, and environmental understanding transcend species and institutional boundaries. Dialogue with these characters often emphasizes strategy, ethical decision-making, and reflection on the consequences of human interference in Pandora's ecology. Pandora's wildlife continues to play crucial narrative roles. The Great Leonopteryx demonstrates intelligence, selective bonding, and leadership, symbolizing courage and trust. Packs of viper wolves hunt cooperatively, showing communal intelligence. Herbivorous creatures like dire horses provide transportation, companionship, and ecosystem maintenance. Smaller bioluminescent organisms contribute to navigation, pollination, and environmental indicators. Each interaction reinforces Pandora's ethical ecosystem. Every creature has purpose, and human disruption threatens the delicate balance. The film's detailed depiction of behavior, movement, and interspecies dynamics reinforces the ecological realism and narrative significance of Pandora's fauna. Aerial combat sequences are choreographed with precision, blending environmental intelligence with tactical strategy. Na-6 riders navigate the floating Hallelujah Mountains, using wind currents, terrain cover, and predator behavior to outmaneuver human gunships. Ground engagements exploit natural obstacles, camouflage, and environmental traps to hinder armored vehicles. Dialogue emphasizes coordination, trust, and ethical clarity, highlighting that victory depends on intelligence, collaboration, and environmental awareness rather than technological superiority. The visual spectacle simultaneously reinforces narrative and thematic depth, emphasizing harmony, courage, and moral integrity. Following the climactic engagements, Jake undergoes permanent transfer into his avatar body at the Tree of Souls. The ceremony involves neural connection with Eywa, synchronized movements, and collective chants. Jake's internal reflections convey awe, humility, and ethical alignment with Pandora's principles. Neytiri's affirmation of his transformation signifies trust, love, and shared responsibility, completing their character arcs. The Omaticea celebrate, restore sacred spaces, and reaffirm spiritual, cultural, and ecological stewardship. Pandora, resilient yet scarred, embodies the triumph of ethical intelligence, communal unity, and environmental balance over exploitation and greed. Technological achievements in the film serve narrative and thematic purposes. Motion capture captures nuanced emotional expression, ensuring authentic portrayal of interpersonal dynamics. CGI ecosystems combine realism with fantasy, depicting flora, fauna, and terrain with biological plausibility and narrative relevance. Stereoscopic 3D immerses viewers in forests, oceans, mountains, and sky, making the environment a dynamic character. Visual elements, light, color, movement, reinforce mood, emotion, and thematic resonance, ensuring Pandora is not merely a backdrop but a fully realized, ethically and ecologically integrated world. Upon its December 18, 2009 release, Avatar became a global phenomenon, celebrated for technological innovation, immersive storytelling, and ethical resonance. Audiences engaged with its environmental, moral, and cross-cultural themes. Discussions around ecological stewardship,